Hey everyone, it's Danielle Taylor with Keller Williams Realty here on the beautiful Outer Banks. And today is Stats Day! Stats Day, Stats Day, Stats Day. We love Stats Day. Just a reminder that all of this data is through February 28th, 2026. And as always, it's courtesy of the Outer Banks Association of Realtors. And the data set is for single-family residential homes in all of Dare County and all of Corolla, including four-wheel drive. So let's dive in. One of the first things that we always track is how are we doing on unit sales. So single-family unit sales ended February year-to-date 2026 down about 13.5% from where we were year-to-date February 2025. They were down about 16% February over February, so month over month, and down about 10% February over January. So overall, we've really experienced some lower unit volumes this year. I really believe that this is due to the weather issues that we talked a little bit about last month that occurred in both our feeder markets and here in the Outer Banks. And I think that really contributed to our slower sales. So we'll see if I'm right and see if we catch up, but that's where we are now. Inventory. So new listing inventory year to date is down about 6.4% versus year to date 2025. And it's down about just under 6% February over February, and down about 4% February over January. So the other really interesting thing here is that the relisting inventory currently sits at about 22% of the new listings versus 20% year to date in 2025. If we take this one step further and we look at net new listings, in 2026, so far, that's been about 229. For 2025, it was about 251. So that delta has us down in net new listing inventory this year by about 8.8%. So some of the decreased sales could also possibly be attributed to a decrease in this new fresh inventory, and those two things, along with the issues getting here from our feeder markets, could have combined. The other thing is that the weather, on the flip side, could have prevented some of our homeowners and sellers from getting their homes prepped for sale, or getting down here to get them prepped for sale, and then also maybe not having time and weather cooperating to complete some of the home projects that they wanted to get their homes ready to be on the market. So for me, fingers crossed that we're gonna see some fresh new inventory hit the market over the next few weeks. 24.5% of the properties listed in February are already sold or under contract, with an average days on market of about 8. Okay, so the good stuff, as we said, is still going fast. Here's the kicker though. Months of supply has jumped to 7.1 months of inventory, which is up substantially. We ended 2025 right around 4 months, and that's a huge increase. But I just want to caution everyone. I'm sharing this with you because you're data people and I know you can handle it, but let's not jump to any major conclusions. This is 2 months worth of data. And we already know that we've had some weather issues, so there's nothing to panic about, but I think it's important that we watch this month's of supply and see where it's trending, because that could be a really big shift if these numbers continue. As always, just remember it does vary by town. Sales price. So median residential sale price ended year-to-date February is $694,500, which is down about 1% from where we were year-to-date last year, but it's up slightly from January. So, really no real conclusion from those yet. The median list price for under contract properties is $710,861, which is a much closer delta to that $694,500 sold price, and that's interesting. Maybe we're getting a little more accurate in pricing. but the actives still have a big delta with a median list price of $796. Sold to list ratio, median sold to list sits at about 98.2, which is up slightly from 2025 full year, which was 97.8. Cash buyers. So we had just under 27% of our closings so far this year pay cash versus about just under 25% for full year 2025. So no major change on that front. Price reductions. So year to date, we have had about just over 43% of the sold properties do at least one price reduction before selling. And that's about the same, flat to where we ended 25 at 43.4. So there's no big change there. We're holding strong. But a smaller percentage of our under contract properties have done a price reduction because that only sits just over 31%. So much less than sold. So again, this is one of the things that's making me feel like maybe we're getting a little better about pricing properties to market, at least the ones that are going under contract and selling. Of our active inventory, just under 36% has done a price reduction. If we dig in a little deeper and look at our sold properties that did a price reduction, they ended up with a median sold price of about $672,500. If we look at those that did not do a price reduction, they ended up with a median sold price of $700,000. So that's about a 4% difference. And also the thing to remember is not only is it a 4% higher price by not pricing it right and not having to do the price reduction, but also think about the longer days on market that it takes to sell with price reductions and how much the carrying costs are for you going forward. So those two things can really combine to make the in-pocket amount for those sellers that need to do a price reduction a lot less. The median days on market between when a property does its last price reduction and when it goes under contract sits at about 18. So that's our good metric to see if we've had to do a price reduction and we haven't found our buyer in 18 days, we might still be a little off. Days on market. So our average days on market for year to date is 71 versus 70 in 2025. So no big change there. And it sits at about 78 for all under contract properties, and active sit at about 111. So as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos. And if you aren't already getting our newsletter, make sure you drop us a line because there's lots of information in there that's not on these videos, and also some really cool stuff about the area and things that are going on. So just remember, there's no better living than Sandbar living.